Shelby and the Sisters by Shayna
and Libby. "He's mine!" Michelle screamed. It was another typical day for the famous sisters of Iffytown. "No way! He's obviously in love with me." "Keep dreaming, Brittany. He and I were meant to be together, and he knows it," Brooke said snobbishly. Shelby was sitting in the corner reading a book. When you look in any of the sisters' rooms, you will find makeup, hair curlers, hairspray, other beauty products, and a ton of clothes, except for Shelby's room. Her room is filled with books all 1,000 pages long, essays covering the walls, and tacky clothing tucked into the corners of the room, though she doesn't have much clothing to begin with.
Shelby was just about to say how unlucky she was to have such selfish sisters when Anna and Cammie walked in from the kitchen. They were complaining about how their new volumizer didn't give their hair as much volume as needed.
At that moment, Brittany left the room to go check her emails. "Guess what? Emma just invited us to a huge party at her huge house with a huge amount of guests. It's tonight. Oh my gosh, we have to go shopping now!" Brittany exclaimed. So the girls, except Shelby, set off to the largest mall in Iffytown to buy the most fabulous dresses. Shelby, who didn't care much for parties, stayed at home and continued to read.
Just then she heard a slow knock on the door. So she got up to answer it. She opened the door to find a little old man with a cane. Can I help you?" Shelby asked, a little confused.
"No, I can help you. I'm your fairy godfather. I heard you are going to a party tonight," the old man said.
"Well, actually, I wasn't planning on going."
The old man replied, "You have to go. Your true love is waiting there. I can see him in the future. Here is a beautiful dress that I designed just for you, though my vision is pretty bad, so I'm not sure if it is the right size." Suddenly the dress appeared out of nowhere, and he gave it to her. "Wow, this dress is lovely," Shelby said, but really she thought it was the ugliest thing she had ever seen, and that was pretty bad considering what she wears daily. The little old man wished her luck and disappeared.
After she sat puzzled, looking at the dress for a few minutes, she heard another knock on the door. So she went to answer it. This time she opened the door to find a little girl, her shiny hair glowing in the sunlight. "Hi, you just met my grandfather. He just gave you a hideous dress. Am I right?" She didn't wait for Shelby to answer. "I brought you a dress that will actually make you the most beautiful girl at the party." "Thank you so much. I guess I can't say no to this now. I'll go get ready," Shelby exclaimed. "There will be a white limo waiting for you at 6 o'clock sharp. Be ready," the little girl said sharply, and then she disappeared. Shelby was amazed at what had happened in the past hour, but she went to get ready like she had promised.
An hour later, Shelby got into the white limo, looking absolutely amazing. She felt like a real princess for once. She arrived at the party, and when she walked in, everybody stopped dancing and talking to stare at the beautiful girl that was now entering. Even Shelby's sisters were completely shocked at how her sister looked. Even they couldn't compare to how she looked right now. Shelby stood awkwardly in the stairway. All she could hear was the pounding in her ears. Why was everyone staring at her? She was starting to feel anxious, so she hurried down the stairs, being careful not to trip. In the corner of her eyes she could see the prince staring at her intensely. Soon enough he walked over to her and asked her to dance.
"Sure," Shelby said, her insides nodding. They started to talk about everything they could think of. She felt really comfortable with him, like no one else was around, just the two of them, gracefully dancing away on the dance floor.
Shelby's sisters were so jealous. They came up with a scheme to embarrass her so much that she would never show her face in public again. They slowly formed a circle around the prince and Shelby, but of course they didn't notice because they were staring deeply into each other's eyes. Unexpectedly, Shelby felt a quiver down her spine. She knew something was wrong. She turned around just in time to have Michelle throw a glass of juice all over her gorgeous dress. Then, when she was staring at Michelle in shock, Brooke came around and pushed her into the pool.
Her makeup, her dress, her everything was ruined. She screamed in shock. "Ah!" She felt so embarrassed. Shelby was never that great of a swimmer because all she ever did was read, so she had trouble in the water and started to sink down to the bottom of the pool. But luckily the prince saw her and came to rescue her. He ran and jumped into the pool after Shelby.
"Come here, my sweet darling, I will save you!" So then the prince swam to the bottom of the pool and pulled Shelby to the surface. It was like a perfect happy ending.
All of a sudden, Shelby's sisters were glaring at her in envy. They looked like they were gonna kill her, but just then, Brittany stormed over and kissed the prince. All of a sudden, Brittany turned into a black cat. Ah! Brittany the cat scurried into the night. She was never seen again.
The prince and Shelby gazed into each other's eyes. They knew at that moment that they were perfect for each other. A week later, they got married, and farther into the future, they had 2 cute little baby girls.
And as for Shelby's sisters, Michelle sold all of her fancy clothing to buy books and become a nerd, hoping that a prince would find her like the prince found Shelby. In the future, Anna and Cammie grew up to be hairdressers. They lived happily ever after. Thank you for watching.
Written by Shayna and Libby.
Photos by Shayna.
Edited by Shayna and Libby.
Sound by Shayna.
The end.
Doo-doo-doo-doo.